Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it is I, your host, Definitely Marmota, and I'd like to welcome you to Jar Jar's Death, Part 2. And now, without wasting any more time, let's hop right on in. Now, continuing from where they escaped from the space blockade, I've decided to skip all the way to the scene where, you guessed it, Darth Maul himself arrives on Tatooine. And the reason why is because I need to point out a specific fact here. And the reason for that is Darth Maul would have never showed up on Tatooine regardless if Jar Jar was living or dead. And I say this for one specific reason. Because Darth Sidious specifically told Newt Gunray and the Trade Federation itself that the Sith can apparently detect all life forms with the power of the Force, specifically the dark side. So, if that is the case, then explain to me what was the fucking point of sending that SOS message to Queen Amidala's ship? If Darth Maul was able to detect their presence on Tatooine by using the Force, then there would have been no need to have Santa Claus send that fake distress signal to the Queen's silver ship in order to gain reinforcements. And the whole point of that message was so for them to reply in order for the Trade Federation to trace the signal, which obviously Queen and Obi-Wan and the others refused to do. Obi-Wan himself contradicts this in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, because in the movie, he was able to track Anakin's location on Tatooine without having to send a message first. So therefore, what the hell was going on? So was Obi-Wan right in Episode 1 or in Episode 2? You tell me. But let's assume that he was right in Episode 2. But why didn't he just use the Force to find Anakin, instead of sending that transmission? Long argument short, Darth Maul would have never arrived on Tatooine, and thus the events on the Tatooine surface would have occurred with or without Jar Jar exactly the same, as well as without Darth Maul. So, in a roundabout way, the movie remains constant all the way until they arrive back on Naboo. And this is where we bump into a huge dilemma. Queen Amidala would not have the backup from the Gungans, since Jar Jar wasn't there to lead them to the secondary location. But it doesn't matter anyway, because they wouldn't have known that the underwater city was abandoned, since they wouldn't have known that it was there. Despite this setback, the Gungans will still fight the droid army in the same fashion as they did in the movie, except it would have taken them later to launch the assault than they had originally planned. My guess is that it would take them at least 3 days to prepare for battle, and they would not be working with Padme. Queen Padme Amidala's plan to raid the royal palace in order to capture the Gunray would still occur, along with the hangar battle, the space battle, and the lightsaber duel. Just about everything would remain constant, except that since the Gungan battle takes place later, then that means there would be more droids in the city, and thus we would have another divergence here, depending on their success or failure. If they had succeeded, then the movie would have just ended exactly how it did in the original event. Except only the Gungan battle would have never occurred, and then we would not see any more changes until the next film. If they failed, otherwise known as Path C, then everyone would be dead except for Padme and Anakin, and I'll explain why Padme's fate would just end up being the same thing as Path A, and it's because of Anakin. Because Anakin would have been captured by Darth Maul if he had survived the space battle, and he would have been used as bait for Padme. So it was either she signed the treaty or he dies. Knowing Padme, she would obviously give in, and therefore the Sith would take over Naboo, and we're not sure what exactly they would do with Anakin. And from this point on, we will be checking out Episode 2. In Part 3. This is Death Flame Armada from TFA Cinemas.
Of course!
Come back when you're a little